right, I'm going to cue this shit down. I need to make sure we are live, people. Are we live? Let me just double check this real quickly. I think we're live. Oh, we are live. Oh, man, what a horrible transition then, because I gave one hell of a sales pitch not too long ago. Oh, let me put that shit down. I'm, of course, DJ Milez, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Double Toasted's TV show, What's in the Box. I am yours truly, DJ Milez, and I am here with my co-pilot, as always, Christian Torres. Christian, do you like being called a co-pilot?
Yeah, why wouldn't I be? Because seeing someone as a co-pilot means that they're equally responsible and is important. Like, if you called me assistant pilot, I might get shitty about it. But co-pilot's totally fine, man.
Well, listen, before I got into that, I gave an amazing transition, and I was going to say, bam! There we are as cartoon characters. What's in the Box? Welcome to What's in the Box, as I was saying, as always. And let me go ahead and go into this next joke that we were talking about. A lot of people had fun ripping me a new one. I wanted to give a shout out to Dynasty who made that. And for people who don't know that little quick joke there, I said a horrible, cheesy ass joke. What was it? In the Roast and Toast this past week. And of course, voila, there was the beautiful piece of art that you see the Dynasty did. I said a horrible joke. It didn't land. For people who want to know why I said David Carlos.
Think it landed. It just landed with a thud. I think that was the bigger problem, Miles.
Yeah. No, it was bad. It was bad. But you know what I love? I love knowing how Corey Martin stops just stop. Dead in their tracks to acknowledge how bad it was and then to rip me a new one. So listen, and I wasn't deflecting people. I was just saying my joke sucked, but not as shitty as Carlos's joke about the Fire Festival a few weeks ago. That's all. But Carlos knows I love him. You know, we love each other back. You know, he's another crazy Puerto Rican I just hang out with. I don't know. That's just my fucking gluttony for
you have a type,
punishment.
For sure.
Yeah. So, of course, people, please keep on making fun of me. Listen, fuck it, dude. Is this one of those things, bad publicity, or there's no such thing as bad publicity?
Well, that's bad publicity right there. Yeah, you fucked that up. But yeah, generally speaking, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Oh, my God. Hold on. And I noticed this little mouse is in the way, so let me hide that over there. Okay.
Hide it.
And let's go ahead and welcome all of you. Let me see. Bam. There is the official Chatter-Tat-Tat. How are all of you guys doing? So we are here. We are in the building. I'm so glad all of you are here to join us. You can be doing anything else, but you decided to join us here. Chat, hello, welcome. And before we begin, as always, go ahead and check out doubletoasted.com, official merchandise for doubletoasted.com. There is the February t-shirt month right there at Kung Fu TJ. And of course, all of your other signature tees that we have and so much more. So let's go ahead and just give you a list of stuff we have to talk about today. We are going to be talking about Twilight Zone. We're going to be talking about Michael Jackson's Neverland trailer that just came out. We're going to be talking about Doom Patrol. We're going to be talking about, what are we talking about, Christian? True Detective, Dragon Prince, Barry, and so much more. So let's go ahead and jump into the first thing that I have here. I couldn't download it properly, so I'm going to play the YouTube clip of it. But Christian, we now have an official Twilight Zone trailer. So let's go ahead and play that, and we'll be right back with our thoughts on the trailer.
Where's our dog?
We don't have a dog.
All right, Christian, what do you think of our trailer here for the Twilight Zone?
Yeah, man, I'm on hype. I'm on hype for a couple different reasons. One, what I like about it is like Jordan Peele's going to try to do some love letter and pay homage to that show, but I'm really excited that they're not trying to exactly harp on it. Does that make sense? They're trying to make Twilight Zone for this new generation that we're in. Not a dumbing down, but you know what I'm saying? Just like this weird world that we live in. I think even some of the stories that were teased in that kind of reflect that. The cinematography is so next level in that you feel like you have a sense of setting immediately. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as soon as we saw the trailers, those first couple images, we were like, okay, yeah, this is going to be great, man. And I don't want to overdo the hype. I'm obviously a big fan, but what are you feeling on this? Because I look at that trailer and there's way too much to like to have anything really bad to say about it.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. It's hard for me to really judge the trailer because I already feel like I'm in good hands with Jordan Peele. So everything I saw, I liked, but I don't really know what to expect, right? And you nailed it, right? If this is kind of the new Twilight Zone for this upcoming generation, I'm kind of curious to see how Jordan Peele is going to kind of expand upon that. In a different way than Black Mirror has, because we've talked about this before when we've talked about Twilight Zone, which, you know what, now I just thought about it, it's going to be a nice, interesting compare and contrasting video in the upcoming weeks. So, you know what, let's go ahead and do that. I just came up with something brilliant. Anyway, back to the conversation. Yeah, I'm curious to see where they're going to go. And, of course, we seen our boy Glenn after leaving The Walking Dead and, you know, also being in Sorry to Bother You. Now he's in the Twilight Zone. So I'm glad that the actor's getting some work. But I'm super excited for this. I cannot wait. This is in April 1st, I think, right? It's going to be on the CBS All Access streaming platform, along with Stephen King's show that's also going to be on this. And Christian, we already have a stacked April when we have this, not to mention Game of Thrones. What else is in April that I'm forgetting? Mortal Kombat, which has nothing to do with TV, but I'm just a fan, so I wanted all of you to know that.
But it should have something to do with TV. That's the problem. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of stuff coming out in April. A lot of stuff coming out at the very end of March as well. Barry comes back. Veep comes back. Yeah, April's going to be pretty intense, man. It's going to be a really, really good month for shows. I want to talk about a couple things quickly, which is you mentioned there's some star power in there. I mean, you had like Kumail Nanjiani, Greg Kinnear was in there. Adam Scott was in there. Who else am I forgetting? John Cho, right? Harold and Kumar guy. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that like familiar faces that you know. And on top of all of that, you're going to get Jordan Peele kind of guiding you through this other world, right? So I like the amount of star power that you have right off the bat. And I think that lends itself because so many people adore the Twilight Zone and what it meant for television. You know what I mean? Also, Tracy Morgan, can we be so happy that fucker survived that bus crash because he's doing this, which is awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of the episodes itself, I wanted to talk shit really quickly about one of them. Yeah. The Adam Scott one looks like that Jim Carrey movie, The Number 23. You know what I'm talking about? Where like seeing the number 23 and fucking everything. Wasn't that kind of the same vibe? He's like, it's 10:15 and it's on a clock and it's on a fucking board and it's on some jerseys and this and that. That's kind of funny, right? Didn't we get past that? Because this is the only thing I'm concerned about is that premise and then the little kid president one that was teased there. So like let's take these one at a time. But what are you thinking about this number 23 premise they're kind of ripping off here?
You know what? When I saw it in the trailer, I'm here thinking, okay, wait, why am I only getting all of just this 10-15 thing? I'm like, is this going to be an anthology series like I expected, or is this going to be one continuous story? Because this trailer does a good job of making it look like it's kind of one cohesive story, if you ask me. But then, of course, when we see the star powers, you know, that's not the case. So I'm curious to see where it goes. But yeah, the whole 10-15 thing, I have no idea. I don't want to judge it too much because you're right. It's easy to kind of rip on that Jim Carrey 23 thing, which I remember that was even being parodied for the longest time, right? Where you're just like, well, wait a minute. If I was born in 1988, but then we add 2, but plus 1, and get rid of the other numbers.
Yeah, divided by pi, it's the number 23. Yeah, like some ridiculous bullshit. But look, I mean, that one's forgivable. And honestly, I'm sure numerology has happened before. It's been done by pi and a bunch of other things. So I'm not trying to be shitty about that specifically. You brought up Black Mirror, though. And I think this is an interesting thing because they did, what is it, the Waldo experiment or the Waldo tree? You know what I'm talking about? Where like the guy with the fucking head, he was like a child's guy. He ran for president. It's in season 2 of Black Mirror. So I actually don't know if you've watched old Black Mirror, but they kind of did this already. And it was interesting because people are like, well, that doesn't really work anymore because Trump's in office. And obviously like there's a mockery of getting elected and shit like that. But now this is obviously like a reactionary thing, right? Like we were talking about Roma yesterday, like not on a show, obviously, but talking about how like great art is always reflecting the environment that it's living through, the time that it's living through. And doesn't this certainly seem like, Jordan Peele trying to say some shit about Trump, right? Because there's a little kid fucking running around the White House. And I think he's trying to make a point about that. I don't know if it's going to land, but I like the idea that they're tackling today's issues through the guise of Twilight Zone, because that's all Twilight Zone ever did back in the day. So I think it's a really encouraging thing, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, no. I'm feeling super excited. I mean, listen, we're actually getting closer than you guys think. So it's around the corner. I can't wait for it to come out. And let's see what some of the Toasties have to say, Christian. Eric here, one of our longtime fans. I watched this trailer 10 times. The cinematography and tons of these episodes look so ominous in the best way possible. The hype is very real in caps. So, yeah, man, I am looking forward to this, and I'm curious to see what Jordan Peele does. So, let's go ahead and hop on over to the next story. We have this HBO trailer on a docuseries featuring Michael Jackson, and maybe not in the best way possible. So, let's go ahead and play that, and we'll be right back with our thoughts.
They were just doing kid things. He just came across as a loving, caring, kind soul.
I want to be able to speak the truth as loud as I had to speak the lie.
Oh man, Christian, let me tell you, I am not looking forward to this because listen, man, despite those allegations way back when Michael Jackson passed away, to me personally, I don't know if it is true. That sucks, but is not going to kind of affect, what I felt with his music and growing up with him as an artist over the years. But I'm sure, you kind of have more emotional ties to Michael Jackson yourself. So how do you feel about watching something like this that's not painting him in this good light?
Robert, let's go way back in the Wayback Machine for a second, because you and I were sort of tangentially together when Michael Jackson died, which is you were off with a friend and I was over here. Anyway, the point is when he died, I freaked the fuck out. Not because I was like a huge fan of anything he had done recently, but growing up, Michael Jackson was the fucking truth, dog. Like he was the best and I loved his music. And so obviously like all the allegations that's something and that was horrible and that painted some idea of who he was to me. But then when people die, like there's that reactionary thing where you start to just look at the art. You mentioned something really interesting here, man, which is you're like, those allegations suck. If they're true, that sucks, but doesn't change how I feel about the music. I think that's what this documentary is really going to fucking test. Whether you can be okay with these people that you adore and idolize their music doing horrific things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of those, like, what's the price of to cost here? You know what I mean? People are saying, no, we're not going to work for Woody Allen anymore because of his whole thing. And I'm not saying that's right or that it's wrong, but what I'm saying is it's selective, what's the word about convictions? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like selective outrage. How much talent is someone worth against their sins? And in the case of Woody Allen, dude keeps making movies. So I guess one molested daughter. That's the cost of Woody Allen's genius or whatever. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Michael. It's just like, he may or may not have done this. I think he did this. I think it's too much smoke for there not to be fire. But is it ultimately going to do anything for people who loved and idolized his music, which is many, many people? So, dude, I'm watching it with my eyes half closed. Like I feel like it's going to be me watching a horror film because I obviously don't want to hear the confirmation of this stuff because I think it is going to irrevocably fuck with my ability to listen to his music. Does that make sense, man?
No, for sure. And I think what's a little weird to this situation too, right? Even though a lot of people now know kind of, Michael's origin stories, right? Like as a child singer and all that stuff, he never really had a childhood, which kind of resulted in him kind of having this childlike nature as he got older. But when you watch this, I don't even know how to phrase it, man. It's just like, okay. Oh, he was like this sex idol too, right? Like everyone, he was like the hottest thing, right? So it's not like he couldn't get with females if he wanted to, but now kind of resulting to young boys because he had a messed up childhood and he was abused and he had just being the toll of a child singer growing up way back when, like the mid 70s and or no, even is it earlier than that, right?
Yeah,
was it
60s,
70s? Yeah, 60s, 70s. It can do a lot. But again, when you see something like this, knowing that, hey, Michael said if I ever said any of this out loud, that he and I would be going to jail and all that. And that's kind of crazy, man. That's something I don't want to hear. Apparently, you were saying that this was promoted in Sundance, and there was already like backlash from the Jackson family, obviously saying like, "Hey, we don't really want this out there because this is really putting a bad light." But of course, it's like, well, but if it's exposing him for who he really was, I mean, I don't know how else you kind of want to spin it or where you want to go with it. And you're right. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to affect my enjoyment of his music down the road, but I know what I've gotten so far. I don't really want to just villainize someone without getting the
well, I mean, listen, man, we can have two true ideas at the same time. The truth is this, like, Michael Jackson's a victim because of the upbringing and the abuse. And like, you can't say that's not a thing. That does not mean his actions are excusable. You know what I mean? Like, I do not want to walk that fucking line. That's like, oh, he was abused. It's okay. He fucks children. No, that's fucking abhorrent. That's disgusting. And I think it's really hard to walk that back no matter what you do. Here's an interesting caveat I want to ask you and some of the Toasties too, which is like, we're in the throes of the Me Too movement. I think that's obviously a good thing for the most part. Women are being believed now in a way that is wonderful. I think if you look at the Terry Crews situation, right? Terry Crews came out and said someone had like fucked with him. And there was a backlash against him because the idea of like masculinity about being a male, being able to take care of your own self and shit like that. These are kids, right? But now they're adults. They're adult men trying to tell a tale. People are very emotional about Michael's music to begin with. Do you think there's going to be a backlash from people doubting them as survivors?
I don't know. You know what, though? I feel like we're in this weird part of the Me Too movement. Well, no, I don't want to say we're in a weird part of the Me Too movement. I feel like this Michael Jackson case being brought up again, I think those victims will get a pass because it was just so big when it happened way back when, right? I mean, even when you first heard about it, it was I couldn't believe it myself, right? It's like, okay, well, hey, I don't know, the guy likes having a carnival in his backyard or whatever. Hey, because he has a shit ton of money. Who wouldn't want one in their own backyard, right? But hearing it was just kind of jarring, and I mean, it was kind of unfathomable to think about. So to answer your question, I think if it was any other circumstances, there might have been some push, but because this is just a special case within Michael Jackson's like lore, unfortunately, as he passed away, I think they might be more about, they might be more open to believing the victims themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because Michael's a fucking titan. Like it's I hate to compare it to the R. Kelly thing because like R. Kelly's music meant something to many people, not really me, except for one video where he yodels for no reason. That shit's fire. But my point is like, he's not this person who came and changed music the way the Jackson 5 did and Michael Jackson's solo career did. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's so many emotions attached to those songs. And I feel like this is going to get really contentious. You brought up the family. The family is suing the documentarians and HBO for $100 million. Like they're trying to squash this shit. They do not want it to get out. And does that really ring of the behavior of people who are necessarily innocent? You know what I mean? Like when you're trying to silence people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, we're kind of going in circles here, but it's one of those things where like, obviously this is going to fuck my relationship up with this guy's music and it sucks. But maybe it's for the best, man. Because the sad thing is this, we lived in a world where it was kind of a joke that Michael Jackson molested people. Mm-hmm. We lived in a world where everybody knew Bill Cosby was raping people, but no one really did anything about it until very recently. So I think at this point, man, burn all these fuckers to the stake. I don't care how good the art was. You know what I mean? Like I can't go back and listen to Cosby records and he was an amazing comedian. I just can't go back and do it because it's fucking weird. And I know that this guy who made a great joke was also a monster. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to watch it and hopefully maybe they'll be more fair than what that documentary looks like. But it does look like a fucking hit job, man. And it's going to be a really difficult watch for me.
All right, so let's see what the Toasties have to say. Marcus says, if this is all true, then I'm going to have to reconsider a good portion of my Google Play Music collection. Listen, Marcus, it's okay because you like EDM like me, and we were talking about Armin van Buuren not too long ago, so I'm sure you're going to go out and enjoy that show if you haven't. So there you go. You got a few more selections to listen to. Anyway, let's go ahead, Christian, and go to the next topic. I think I'm just going to kind of talk over this trailer because it already came out last week, and that, of course, is The Dragon Prince Season 2. It has already came out. People have now had a week to fully digest this season, and although you haven't seen as much, Christian, I'm curious to see what you have to ask me, because after watching a couple of episodes into Season 2, let me go ahead and right now pronounce that I think this season is better than Season 1. They fixed some of the animations that were kind of jarring. Not fully, but as I let the thing play out, as you guys are watching the live show, it still, in a weird way, complements the art style, even if it does look a bit... what's the word I'm looking for? Like an animation, right? Like a computer animation type of show.
Right.
But again, this still deals with, the following adventures of these two kids trying to, bring back the dragon egg, or after the events of season 1, this dragon now to this other side of, the kingdom. And through that, they have adventures and they deal with, like Lord of the Rings type of stuff. And I would definitely say this is kind of like an Avatar meets Game of Thrones for kids, because they've done some things now differently from season 1, where they focus on the character moments within these individuals, right? And there's one scene where we have our two main characters. It's Callus and Ezrin, and they have to. One of them ends up finding out what happened with their father way back in season 1. He passed away. Spoilers. But now they're just now catching wind to it. When the Callus ends up finding out, and he's trying to have a hard time having that conversation with his younger brother because he couldn't take the confirmation well with it, right? And they do this really cool thing where they bring up life and death in this kid's show, and they don't hide away from it, and they do it in a way where I think even they can understand and they can kind of cope with and be like, whoa, like life isn't all about, sunshines and rainbows and all that, and it can be grim and it can suck. And I think you see a lot of that in the Dragon Prince season 2. So, quickly, I just want to say this is something I actually really recommend for anyone who's into the Avatar type of stuff, who's into anything fantasy, Lord of the Rings. I think this is great, man. We're not going to get some heavy plot for more the adolescents age demographic, but for the kids who are watching this, like a lot of people who grew up watching Avatar, I think this is going to be really cool to say, hey, I watched The Dragon Prince, and I'm glad I got that in my childhood because this is really cool. So this kind of blew me away, to be completely honest with you, Christian.
That's good, man. I was going to ask you because I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but we watched a couple episodes of season 1 together and we liked it mostly. You said the animation got a little bit better, which is great because I think that was a criticism of season 1. In terms of being like that balance between adult oriented and for kids, is this still firmly kids, or do they try to toe the line a little bit?
No, I mean, this is definitely more for kids. Like I was saying earlier, this is definitely for people who grew up watching Avatar. I think the same creators who did it anyway. So there's jokes that don't land for you and I, right? But I'm not going to punish it because the jokes are kind of goofy. The only thing I have a problem with is when the plot has to move forward just for the sake of plot. It's like, well, one bad thing has to happen for this next thing to happen, and it's really kind of done in the same vein of I thought about it even when I was watching it. Do you remember in Ocarina of Time when you're like sneaking in Zelda's castle and you have to like go through the guards, but it's kind of done in that like Looney Tune type of thing where it's like, I hope I don't get caught, so let me just hide under a leaf, or hide under the bushes, right? There's some stuff where the villains are like, oh, we can't start the war because we have to have like the king's seal, right? For this letter that has to be sent out to the other kingdoms. So people are like, well, the king isn't here because he's obviously dead, Christian. So what are we going to do about that? So of course the villain, in a Looney Tune style type of way, right? He goes to the abandoned king's room. And what does he do? He opens up drawers and voila, there's the little king stamp of approval, right? Because no one is guarding that after the king died, right? Like, it's kind of stupid, but for the sake of plot and where it has to go, I'm going to give it the pass, right? And again, for people, hell, even like 7 to 14, 15, 16, you're going to watch this and it's a good show for them, man. So I can't, I can't really dock points off of that, right? Because it doesn't mesh well with me. And another thing I wanted to commend it on is the score. I don't have any score that I can play for you guys in the background, but this is really good. I mean, everything that you see from them setting on a sail to them kind of fighting some spiders, right? Fuck, dude, I feel like I'm playing The Legend of Zelda, right? Like, when you're about to fight a boss and then there's that boss song. And then when you're in the forest, you hear relaxing music. And then when you're in the village, you hear village music, right? So I think The Dragon Prince is a huge step up, much from season 1. And again, despite some of the jarring animations, I think now it kind of complements it for this style that I'm seeing, because I don't see a lot of this anyway, and I've never seen Avatar myself. So people go ahead and get on it. I definitely like it, and I'm definitely going to see how it ends.
Yeah, it sort of looked like Wind Waker. There's that one shot of the boat, and I was like, okay, this is how you appeal to me. You make it about Zelda, and I'll watch this shit. So I'm glad you like it, man. And it seems like they've righted their ship ever so slightly from season 1.
So let's go ahead and see what some of you toasties have to say on the Dragon Prince. Let me put you guys right there in the chat. Doloma. Let me go down here. Oh, you guys are still talking about the whole Michael Jackson of it all. So let me.
That was our bad from going from child molestation to a children's show. I really think that was our fuck up, Miles.
That did not. Yeah, it was a mistake. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the next topic I have here. And look at this. I did not think, Christian, we were going to be talking about one of my favorite shows in 2018, and that is The Haunting of Hill House. So Netflix has announced season 2 will be coming out in 2020, and it is going to be renamed as The Haunting. And it's going to relaunch as an anthology series, with each series focusing on a different story. And I don't know how much you know about Ply Manor, but that's what season 2 is going to be focusing on. Do you know anything about this upcoming chapter, Christian?
Right. So it's actually based on a Henry James novella called, I believe, The Turn of the Screw. Which is, so it's a novella. I mean, it's the same idea. It's like these people on Christmas Eve, and they're telling each other ghost stories. And then when one guy starts to tell a story, it kind of transitions into the first-hand account. And it's just all about this governess and like these kids and this fucking haunted place. It seems like on paper it's very similar to season 1. Obviously, there's some nuance to it. But the cool thing about this is like it's a short novella, which I think is going to give them plenty of chance to kind of make things up and improv, which I think would be bad. But that's what they did with the first season. That wasn't a direct adaptation of The Haunting of Hill House. Like they did their own thing. They added a lot of their own flavor to it. And most importantly, Mike Nichols is coming back to direct every episode. So it's like, if it's the same creative team, the same writers, why are we at all thinking it's not going to be awesome? I think you and I both agree season 1 was damn near perfect. So there was no point in revisiting that story. And I think that that's what's so wise about this is if we're going to take it one season at a time, we're going to have different characters, different time periods, even because this is a period piece. I think it's going to like lend a lot of life to the show ultimately, man. So I'm very, very excited about it. I know you were a little, before you knew it was anthology, you were like, no, you didn't want it to be renewed, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't want to be ruined because, excuse me. Oh, God, I'm going to die. I thought it had a beautiful bow tie of an ending, despite what people thought of the ending of season 1. I was so scared, dude. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, we can never just have an amazing 1 or 2 seasons of a great show and that's it, right? Because in where we are with TV and movies, right? It's not even a trilogy anymore, Christian. It's a fucking universe. We have to have a shared universe for everything. And when I saw The Haunting of Hill House be announced, I'm like, no, like season 1 was so good. If season 2 sucks, it's not going to take away my enjoyment from season 1. But I'm glad they are now just going to kind of refer to this as The Haunting, and it's going to be an anthology series. And if they can do a lot of cool stories with it each season, then fuck. I mean, this shit can go up to 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, right? And we'll each get great stories one after the other. So what you were talking about too with this governess, looking after these 2 kids, and what they see some supernatural themselves, or do they become the supernatural later on down the road from the story?
Nah, they're being haunted. I mean, the thing is, I have not read. I need to read it. I'm sorry. I know what it is, obviously, but it's one of those things where, like, I know that there's a legit haunting aspect of it. So I think these kids are obviously going to be involved. That's always interesting to me too, which season 1 did, is that kids traditionally, you know what I mean, for whatever reason, they say children can see things that adults can't for whatever reason. Have you ever noticed that recurring theme? Like in these ghost stories, children usually see this shit before anyone else. Yeah. So I kind of like the idea that they're going to, keep doing that tradition of horror. But the thing I like more than anything, dude, is just the period piece. Like, I think that's going to be awesome because much like Castle Rock, remember we were really loving the end of Castle Rock and near the end for like no reason, there was just like a pilgrim woman, like some old like Salem witch trial looking lady. And you're like, well, that's cool. And we already know the next season of that is also going to be a period piece. So it's like, there's something about like that house was so old in the first season of Haunting of Hill House. So I think that plays a character. Now everything's going to be old. There's no electricity. There's no, like, remember when you were scared when you were little? Like, maybe this is just me, but like you would put the light on. The light on was your saving grace, right? Like,
for sure.
Your safe was all about how quickly you could flip a fucking switch. There's no switches in the 1800s, man. Like, this is just shitty. So I think it's going to be a really, really scary time. And I don't know. They're going to have to top themselves because season 1 is damn near perfect. But I think they picked the right source material and the right time period to pull it off.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought about just now when you were saying there's no light switch back then. Do you remember that like picture I sent you about the Netflix and chill? But you can't Netflix and chill because it's 1610.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. They're gonna be like, oh, hey, lights on. Lights on.
There's no clapper that's going to save you from fucking Casper the Angry Ghost. You know what I mean? So
man.
I think, dude, honestly, like, especially this, they're not fucking making it come out this year. They're giving Nichols enough time to go write it and go shoot it and do it the right way. I would be surprised if we saw it before October of next year. You know what I mean? So at that point, we're literally talking nearly 2 years of production time. So I think that's the best sign possible. Netflix is signing talent, going after people themselves. And yeah, man, I cannot wait for this. I think it's such a good idea and a smart move by everyone involved.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and now move over to some superhero stuff. Doom Patrol has not only garnered our attention with positive thoughts, it has garnered the thoughts and hearts of a lot of people saying, DC made something good? So let's go ahead and play this little teaser trailer from what episode 2 was, and we'll be right back with our review.
Oh my God.
Giant, what are you doing? No!
You've slipped through my fingers for the last time.
All right, and that was the teaser trailer for episode 2 of Doom Patrol. And listen, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Hey, good job. You got another episode, a stellar fucking episode at that. Oh my God, Christian, what the fuck is happening? It's like DC's finally getting it, man. They are finally getting how to fucking do something right within their own property, right? I don't know anything about Doom Patrol, but now when I'm watching this, I'm like, fuck, this is funny. This is breaking the fourth wall. And you know what? More importantly, I'm getting these psychological character moments of people I never gave a shit about, and now I'm already invested with them, and I want the best for them. Like, what's going on here, Christian?
Someone knows more than me. I want to know who's running DC television, because I don't know if it's the same situation like Marvel where they have that shit split up and, TV doesn't fuck with movies and vice versa, even though they're starting to change that. Whoever's running TV knows what they're doing. And I know that they're batting literally 500 because Titans was okay and then it got better. This hit the ground running. And we said it last week, pilots are really hard. They nailed the pilot. It was one of the best pilots I've seen in a very long time. Episode 2 has to give you a little bit more of the pilot while expanding. They did that, and they never compromised how fucking weird this show is, dude. Like, the donkey is a door. Spoiler alerts. We're going to talk a little bit of spoilers. Someone yelled at me for not saying it early last week, but the unabashed weirdness of this goddamn show is what makes me like it so much, because they don't seem to care. Like, everyone there is just like, how crazy and weird and batshit insane can we make these characters while still grounding them as regular people, like who have flaws and wants and desires and all that shit. So yeah, man, like it's weird because not a lot of plot has happened. At the end of the last episode, the bad guy showed up and a big thing was about to happen. Everything got sucked into the fucking hole. There was like a hole happening there. Mm-hmm. And then in this one, we finish that scene, which is the chief's gone. Jane jumps into the hole, and like it's everyone having to deal with this holy shit moment. But that's pretty much it, right? Like, they don't expand the plot too much, save for the exception of Cyborg, man. They introduced Cyborg. So before we go too much into that, what did you think of Cyborg to begin with? Because I'm going to be real with you. Coming off the movie, I was like, we don't need this. And also Robot Man, like, it feels like it's an overlap, and I wasn't feeling it up front. How did you feel going into it?
Yeah, that's interesting. There's definitely some similarities between Robot Man and Cyborg, right? And I'm thinking, well, we got two robots, so how are they already going to be different from one another? I think the actor himself, and I'm going to probably butcher his name, so I apologize, Joyvin Wade. I'm kind of unsure how the actor is playing him right now, but I don't think he's doing a bad job as Cyborg. I think Cyborg is actually a nice fit to this dysfunctional family we're getting here, more so than Titans, because what we watched with Titans earlier, I felt like they just kept on stacking more characters after another from different properties, and although they worked for those episodes, at the core, I'm like, well, what are we really going to get here with Titans? So I'm kind of glad Cyborg has just kind of jumped ship to Doom Patrol anyway, because what I've been seeing so far is really good, and I like the character's portrayal. That being said, you're right. If we can talk about the plot, obviously spoilers ahead and all that stuff. You know, we're jumping straight from the events of episode 1. You know, we see what's the woman's name here? Crazy Jane jumping into the void out of nowhere. You know, Brendan Fraser's character, Robot Man, tries to figure out what's going on. Then we get this donkey, and this donkey is the key, Christian, to I guess this whole other universe or something. I don't know, but let me say, as crazy as it ends up becoming, I totally become more on board with it, because I just love how much the villain is just making this so much fun. I mean, we start off the episode with the villain himself giving this over-the-top narration where he's not just poking fun at the heroes and letting the heroes know that he's making fun of them, but he's also just telling everyone else too. And he had to throw in a DC joke in there about like, yeah, DC has been known for shitty stuff, but this isn't that. This is something much better. Go ahead and watch and enjoy this, and you know, you're gonna be surprised for the ride that you're gonna get watching this episode. So I'm just loving every moment with this, man. And Brendan Fraser too, he keeps on wowing me, right? Like I'm not sure if he's the robot himself, right? The guy who's playing the robot, but I just see him just acting through the eyes of Robot Man, and I'm totally emotional with this guy. You know, like I'm totally on board.
Dude, there's that scene where he made this the sandwich for Jay. And again, this is what's cool. It's weird, and yeah, it's funny and all that stuff, but they never use that at expense of building and developing the characters further. And so there's this really great scene because Jane's cycling through all fucking 62 of her personalities and stuff like that. And Robot Man Cliff, right? Cliff's his name. Mm-hmm. He makes her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and he tries to give it to her. And I know that sounds so fucking lame and stupid and simple, but holy shit, when Jane rejects it and was like, too bad none of us are your fucking daughter, right? They cut back to him, and you're right, just the eyes, man. It's crazy that this guy is able to convey so much with a sigh. Like, it's so goddamn impressive. And again, for all the weird and all the humor, they never are going so far as to not make you understand why you care about those characters. Mm-hmm. So, dude, I mean, here we are. Like, I was really worried the pilot was going to be great, and then everything afterwards wasn't going to be great. And I can say this for a fact: episode 2 didn't take a dip at all. It was just as weird, just as sweet and sentimental. Also had a great David Bowie song right at the end. But they furthered everyone's personal turmoil a little bit too, right? We saw Rita have her fucking issues. She's trying to keep her things under control. At the end of the episode, Larry Trainor fucking takes off the bandages and kind of looks at himself. He's trying to reckon with the entity that lives inside of him. Yeah. So there's a lot of subplots, but the thing is, yeah, they went weird, they went funny, but they also moved everyone forward a little bit. And I think that's what's so fucking impressive about it, man.
Yeah, I think what's really great, too, is those emotional moments within Rita and what's his name? Negative Man, you were saying? Or no?
Yeah, Larry.
Yeah, Negative Man. Dude, that scene in the end when he just kind of taking off the bandage was really hard to watch, where I forgot the line he said. I'm going to butcher it, but he just like, okay, like, let me do my thing, right? As he's just passing out, and then he's just kind of letting his little spirit thing kind of do whatever. And they keep on bringing those moments of psychological trauma, right? Like, listen, I think the villain himself, for as great as he is as the ominous narrator, he looks goofy, and that's because of the budget. And I don't want to really dock it points because of that. But it's something I think I just should address if some people might hate it because of it, right? The CGI doesn't look the best at times, right? There's even when they were having like the donkey throw up and all that, it doesn't look that great, but I'm not gonna dock it points for that. However, I do like, despite how the villain looks in the show, I like his angle and his aspect that he just kind of attacking these superheroes through psychological trauma, right? And you saw that even with Cyborg, where, you know, we got a good introduction of the character and how he fits in with this family, but even towards the end when you kind of see where he's like, hey, what are you doing to me now? And you just kind of just feel like them ripping out his like ligaments and stuff to replace it with like, you know, robotic parts. I'm like, oh fuck, that is torturous, right? And I've never realized that you know, any type of pain psychologically can be more scarring than physically, right? And I thought they did a good job of portraying that in the episode. So Doom Patrol is where it's at. I'm blown away with just what I've been seeing, and man, I want to see episode 3 right now, man, right now. So is there any last second thoughts you wanted to say, Christian?
No, just like, listen, I'm just as surprised as you are, people. It's really good. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, but so far they're taking such care with the characters that there's nothing really wrong, you know, with the show. You know, like you were saying, Mr. Nobody's big idea to torture these people is to kind of put them back in the moments where horrible things were happening. Like it's almost like, you know what it's like, dude? It's like Killing Joke. You know what I mean? Where like Joker he's trying to say the only difference between you and me is one bad day. And he tries to like force the most horrific day in the world in attempts of breaking people. And so I thought that was a very similar thing. Only our heroes, even though they're all fractured and they're not really put together, they're all too strong for that. So what's going to happen when they all get put together? You know what I mean? They're fighting a fucking Rubik's Cube of a villain. So I like the idea that it's about these people assembling themselves, picking up the pieces and going against a foe who is already shattered. Does that make sense?
No.
So like, I really dig it, man. Please watch the show. We're rapidly approaching the point where I can confidently say, yo, it's worth that whatever $5-6 it is to subscribe for this, because I'm really digging it. And I think this is such a good sign for everything else that's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. So let me know what you guys think about Doom Patrol. So do you like it? Do you hate it? Are we still comparing it to the Umbrella Academy? You know, let me know. And let me go ahead and now switch on over to HBO so we can talk about Barry. But real quickly, Christian, just non-related. Have you finished watching Umbrella Academy yet?
I'm on the finale, sir. I'm really excited. Some people didn't really like the back half of the season, but I think they like a lot of the stuff they did early on paid off. I'm a really big fan of it. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, man, I'm one of those guys. I like the first half much better than what I've been seeing in the second half. I think I'm on episode 8 right now. There's what, 10 episodes?
10,
so
10 total.
I'm liking some of the answers that they've given us so far. I think it's just, I don't know. I think there's just been moments in that show where it's been a little slow for me, but, you know, let me give you my full thoughts on it next week, or, you know, I'll talk to you afterwards.
We'll do a deep dive. I like that when we're on opposite ends of a review. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. We'll do that next week.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and now talk about Barry, because the trailer just came out this past week. And for those of you who don't know, it's an HBO show, which Christian absolutely loved. So let's go ahead and play that, and we'll be right back with our thoughts.
Do you think I'm a bad person, Mr. Cousineau?
I think you are deeply human.
All right, Christian. So I'm definitely going to take your word for this, because I do believe you when I watch this trailer. It's not grabbing me at all. And I've seen Bill Hader do so much stuff as a comedian. I can't see him as a straight man and whatever he's doing in this. But I want to know your thoughts about this, because I'm definitely going to watch season 1. And how exciting? How excited do you get for watching this new trailer for Barry season 2?
Yeah, a lot. Because here's the thing: season 1's trailers didn't look like it was anything but like some weird dry comedy as well, and it was way more. I mean, there are parts of season 1, man, that are Breaking Bad-esque. And I know that is very weird to say about a 30-minute HBO comedy dramedy. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But they have a couple moments. And if there's anyone in the chat who wants to corroborate this, because I know Miles never believes me alone, it's such a brilliant thing, because Hader, you're right, is known for being this wacky, funny man. Seeing him stone-faced, seeing him basically an approximation of a human, right? Not even a person. He's broken. That's so jarring, and it allows for all these little ticks. You know, what I liked about season 1 was Barry had to learn how to be a person. through this acting class that he stumbled in when he was trying to kill someone. Because again, the premise of the show, if you don't know, is a hitman goes into an acting class chasing one of his targets and then catches the acting bug. Doesn't sound incredible, but I promise you it is. So season 2, I mean, I can't spoil a lot of what happens in season 1 because it's really amazing, and I want you to go into it with fresh eyes. But season 2 is now that he's kind of activated that part of himself that's human. He wants to leave all this other shit behind. But can you ever really leave behind the sins that you committed? And I think that's what's going to happen here. You know, you see him trying to now write. It's almost like he's trying to create Barry the Hitman as a fictional character. Like he can exercise it that way. But I think obviously this trailer shows that he's going to get sucked into a lot of it. I want you to like it, man. I know that trailer didn't do it for you, but I promise you, once you understand the tone of what that show is, which is like, yeah, it's funny. Like that NoHo Hank, that bald guy who's crazy, that might be the funniest fucking character of the last 15, 20 years. Like he's hysterical.
Bold
I'm not
claim,
even kidding.
sir.
Like,
Bold claim.
He's really fucking funny, dude. Trust me, I'm not alone in this. But then in the same thing, same episode, that guy will make you laugh. 5 minutes later, they turn on the screw, man, Henry James, and they break your heart. They rip it out. Like these moments are just so intense, and all the acting is just so good. And Hader won for this show last year. Henry Winkler won for the show last year. So yeah, there's too much creative juice. HBO knows what they have on their hands. I think they're going to let him do whatever he wants to do. And this can't get here soon enough. That's the only problem, man. I have nothing but faith in this creative team, and I think it's somehow going to improve on something I would call a perfect season. So, yeah, get on it, man.
And this comes out March 31st. I mean, we should pretty much just say April. So, I mean, this is, again, another stacked month for the entire month of April. And listen, I believe you. The trailer's not doing it for me, but that's because I really don't know what's going on. And I'm sure a lot of stuff you're seeing here is just, post the events of season 1, which is already kind of hard to...
it's decipher
hard
and figure out what it is and whatnot. But here's another thing. I'll tell you this. Bill Hader directs, I think, the first 3 episodes by himself in season 1. And then the other guy is Hero. I cannot say his last name. Forgive me. But the guy who did Atlanta, who also did the This Is America video for Donald Glover. So, like, the guy's an amazing director. And the back half of that season is some of the prettiest directing I've seen in any show, let alone a comedy on HBO, man.
Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and now jump on to the next thing. Speaking of HBO, Christian, the season finale of True Detective Season 3 is coming out this Sunday, and we figured right here on What's in the Box, we'll talk about our reviews and, maybe potentially spoilers. I don't know. I don't want to say potentially. We'll probably talk about the events and what we think about Season 3 so far. With True Detective, but Christian, I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna talk over the trailer and all that stuff of Mahershala Ali's performance and all that stuff. And now, as we're pretty much done with the penultimate episode last week, and we lead into the season finale of True Detective Season 3, where does it stack to you amongst the other True Detectives and just kind of the season as a whole?
I think this is a really difficult conversation to have because it depends on what your barometer of what True Detective is supposed to be. Is it better than season 2? Obviously. Season 2 is a glorious mess, okay? Has some moments that are really beautiful mixed in with a bunch of terrible storytelling. So yeah, it's better than season 2. Now there comes the debate that I want to have with you because I know how you feel about it, which is that season 1 is considered so unimpeachable to people who love TV, right? They think it's a perfect season of TV, but let me remind you, the answers never really got answered. And I'm not saying every show that is built on a mystery needs to answer everything. Trust me, I'm a Lost fan. I'm well aware that we will fuck you over in the end. But I think that this one specifically, it gave you a bunch of great philosophical musings, great performances, but they didn't really answer anything at the end. They caught one bad guy. And that was it. Yeah. Season 3, what I find really interesting, man, is that it's so not True Detective season 1. Like season 1 was okay, just having 20-minute scenes where there's philosophical musings about absolutely nothing. They don't really advance the story, but just make you understand the characters a little bit more. This season, they have a story to tell. You know what I'm saying? Like they have done everything to streamline a story where next week's or tomorrow's episode rather it's going to give you answers. And if it doesn't, then it's a failure, because I think that's the only thing that'll hold it back. They've set this great season up where there's all these character moments still. There's still an amazing performance by not just Mahershala Ali, but even Steven Dorff in the back half of the season. He's been wonderful. Carmen Iago's also been fucking great, man. So like the acting is really all on point. The problem is, can they stick the landing? Season 3 has felt like a way more adult version of like Law and Order than True Detective season 1, right? It felt like a very normal procedural.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say, what an interesting analogy. You know what? Maybe that's what it is, and maybe that's why I'm sorry that I keep on holding this candle among season 1 so much to be like, hey, why isn't it like this? But it's more so like that. That's a great analogy. I'm sorry to cut you off. Continue. What were you going to say?
No, it's not a problem, dude. But I think that's an important thing, is people looking to get back into that weird world. Like the things that it does borrow from season 1 are atmospheric settings, right? Deep woods, like the setting in the world is very lived in. You understand it. You can almost feel the tension, right? So that's great. But the way they're telling a story is completely different. Like it's a straight procedural, you know, oh, there's a person. Is he the guy? No, he's not the guy. Okay, let's figure this out. Like it plays like a regular cop TV show, but heightened. The writing is much better. The performances are much better. And the central mystery isn't written in a way that makes it seem so mystical like season 1, right? Season 1, you played on that line, whether there was some supernatural shit going on or there wasn't, for a long time.
Yeah.
This one kind of dispels from that shit immediately, but they're still keeping a straight line. So here's the thing, man. This brings me to what I want to talk about, which is episode 7, the one that just aired last week.
Yeah. Which
I think did something franchise changing. And I wanted to kind of hear your opinion on it. Spoiler alert. Listen, if you haven't caught up with True Detective or don't want to hear something, you have 5 seconds to get away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. They connected the universes, man. They connected season 1.
Okay.
And season 3, how do you feel? Because here's the thing: when you see fucking McConaughey on that newspaper, I asked Dolores, I fucking screamed. I was like, what? So, I mean, how are you feeling about it, man? Because now you know this sandbox, right? Season 2 went to great lengths to make sure that it was not connected to season 1 at all. This one, it's the linchpin of the whole season. So how are you feeling about it, dude?
No, I'm feeling super excited about it, because now it's like, well, we get the not only connective tissue, and I want to kind of see Mahershala Ali interact with McConaughey and Woody Harrelson as well, with Steven Dorff, by the way, as Roland West. Let me tell you real quickly, he's actually won me over throughout the episodes. You know, when I was telling you this was kind of more the Mahershala Ali show, and I still think it is to some extent, Roland West has been just this nice complimentary sidekick to, Wayne Haynes. But to answer your question with the whole connective tissue, I think that's really cool. I do like, and that was really cool when we saw the first episode of season 3 of True Detective. They brought like the dolls, right? Like those dolls, and we're like, oh man, like it's very similar to season 1, and now we know for a fact that is the reason why, because they're kind of connected, and this might be even a bigger, grander scale of a story than what we've been led to believe. Not only that, we had that unreliable narrator aspect, right? Where, what we got with season 1, we're kind of getting with Mahershala Ali. Was it dementia that he was suffering from, or what was it?
He got some kind of thing, because dementia is a symptom. It's not a disease. So he may have like Alzheimer's, he may have something, but he's definitely suffering from disassociation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can I ask you one more thing? Episode 7, almost on top of the McConaughey revelation of it all, right? Season 1, there was that really amazing scene where, he saw the car outside, and they went out and they got the picture of the license plate, because, there's been this car that's been outside his house the entire season. It's been like this mystery. And when they get the picture, he starts to walk away, and suddenly he's in this void. It's all black. There's nothing out in the street. And he walks to this path, and then he ends up seeing himself in the past, right? After an event that happened. And what I liked about that, dude, was like, I don't think that was purely stylistic. I think much like season 1, where you're like, wait, is this supernatural or isn't it? Like, remember, what's the most popular line from season 1, dude? Like, time is a flat circle, right? That was the big buzzword, the quote everyone wanted to say. And I feel like there's a moment where past Mahershala Ali is looking behind his shoulder, because fucking future. Remember that part in Game of Thrones where, God, who is it? The Stark guy. He hears himself, right? Young Ned Stark hears Bran say father. Remember?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Bro, it was the same shit. It was amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, is time a flat circle? Like, these are the things where I'm saying, like, look, it was a much more patient journey, but I really think season 3 is the superior season, man. And I know you don't feel that way yet. And obviously they have to stick the landing tomorrow. I think that's the important thing. But if they answer these questions, right, because they've built up such a great mythology, if they actually answer some of these questions and they've done the character development that they did for both of these characters, yeah, dude, I think it's better. That's me personally, but I think it's better.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know what? I think because True Detective season 1, because it was just so new in the concept. Well, the concept wasn't new itself, but, you know, just kind of having like this buddy cop relationship and Matthew McConaughey just having this deep philosophical meaning to just kind of life and, you know, where we are and what we do. I think just stuff like that just kind of gravitates. I like gravitating towards stuff like that. However, you know, that's not to kind of put season 3 behind, because out of nowhere, we're going to have now the season finale with Michael Rooker right here as pretty much the main villain, right? Leading into True Detective. And I think that's a nice surprise that we're getting someone of such a high caliber actor, right? To kind of now lend his hands into a project like this. And you're right. We didn't talk about it enough, or I didn't, but the cinematography and just kind of how they transitions between Mahershala Ali's, time jump, right? Fuck, I don't even know if it was episode 6 or 7, but now we got a 4th timeline, right? Where he was sending out his daughter to college and all that stuff. And, you know, he was saying that, like, he was this badass before he had his wife and before he had his kids, but now they kind of made him soft and he's kind of going crazy and just trying to piece everything together. And I still like that aspect of a True Detective, that unreliable narrator thing is really cool. And just to kind of see Mahershala Ali just really trying to piece things together when he kind of went back on his promise with the Roland West character, right? That, like, you know, that he kept, and obviously he broke because he just doesn't remember it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the season wraps up. And, man, I mean, listen, I'm just so glad that, Nick Pizzolatto just is back with this, because despite what happened with season 2, season 3 has not suffered at all whatsoever. And again, if they do any weird, or not weird, but just a cool connective tissue to see these two guys back into the fray with Mahershala Ali, Matthew McConaughey, and Woody Harrelson, that's going to be really cool to see. So was there any last second things you wanted to talk about, Christian, with True Detective?
No, just go out there, man, because I think it's very rare when someone takes a critical beating like Pizzolatto did for him to take the criticism to heart and actively want to improve. And I think across the board, his depiction of women, the ability to actually tell a story, if you're going to build a conspiracy, you know, fucking finish the conspiracy. Mm-hmm. He's taken all the criticism from season 2. He's learned from it. He's come back stronger. And dude, I want a season 4 at this point. You know what I mean? Like, if this guy is back to his old self, the sky's the limit, you know? So yeah, go check it out.
Yeah. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Where do you think season 3 is going to go? What do you think is going to happen? Let's go ahead and quickly talk about that. What do you think is going to happen with the finale here, Christian?
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Season 1 was a happy ending. You know, the good guys got away. I think the final line was that they're looking at the stars, right? And he's like, looks like the darkness is winning. And I think the final line is like, no, once it was all dark. If you ask me, the light is winning. So I thought that was great. It was a beautiful, happy ending. All our heroes walk away at the end of season 1. Season 2 ain't as happy. You know what I mean? There's a lot of bad shit that happens to most of the people in that show. So I don't know. There's not like there's a precedent. You know, it could go either way. I think I would love for them to solve the case. I think the truth is this: no matter what, Wayne's gone, man. Like, I think his mental state's deteriorating so quickly that even if he gets the victory, he probably won't be able to enjoy it. Does that make sense? Like, the bitter irony that is True Detective. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what do you think?
No, you just said it for me. I think we're gonna get a happy ending, but it's still gonna result in Wayne to kind of just, I don't want to say wither away, but like he's not going to have a happy ending himself, right? And we still don't know what happened with his wife Amelia, who we found out, met that guy with the messed up eye, right? The
one-eyed man.
The one-eyed man, yeah. So I'm curious to see how all that kind of weaves together, and I'm really looking forward to it. So again, the season finale of True Detective is airing tomorrow night, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. So let's go ahead and talk about one final thing, and we'll get into, well, where are we right now? Ooh, we're already past the hour mark. Let me go ahead and quickly play this trailer of Veep because that came out. We'll answer some emails, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up the show.
This entire country is getting more disgusting by the second.
That's a demo we're targeting mostly on Facebook.
I'm going to get so much shit for this, man. To me, this is in the same veins of like Park and Recs, The Office, Community. This is something I wish I can watch and I always want to watch. I just, for whatever reason, just never had the time to get into, but I know it's a good show and I get a lot of shit for not watching these. So this is the season finale of Veep. Christian, does this get you excited knowing that this is the last hurrah for a show like this, or do you want more?
Look, you made an interesting comparison. Yeah, this is like Parks and Rec. I mean, they beyond the mockumentary aesthetic, right? There's like a camera crew following them around.
Yeah,
like Veep was so funny because it was like an Obama era show. We had like stability in our president, and everything was mostly optimistic. So you could make a parody of politics and make it outlandish and funny and blah 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 blah. Then again, Trump wins and he changes shit. So now it's like this show is it's parodying reality. Like originally it was trying to just do something outlandish that didn't matter. It was supposed to be funny.
Interesting.
Now it's like it's weird that this exists. You know what I mean? So in that regard, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about it because I think it's going to continue to be wonderful. I think it's one of the best comedies that's ever been on TV. Her specifically is wonderful. I think she's won 4 awards in it. So she's great. I'm sad because again, like these are super talented people. That is one of the best supporting casts. Every single person has the ability to steal the scene to make you laugh.
See it right here where he's just like eating those corn dogs. Hold on.
Yeah, that's Jonah. Like Jonah is like, again, this is a character who was always a moron. He was always a moron, but he was never going to be like an anti-vaxxer fucking weirdo. You know, again, this is like art reacting to Trump. And here's the thing. They had a lot longer to write this season because Julie Louis-Dreyfus had a scare with breast cancer. So they actually took like a full year off.
Whoa.
Yeah, last season was 2 years ago. So, but she's back. She's good. Thank God. Everything's gone. And so now they're going to finish off this thing. And I really feel like if this final season's great, we'll talk about this show 20 years from now. Yeah. It really is that funny. I'll tell you, for someone who hasn't watched it, me and Dolores tried to rewatch it recently. And tell me if you understand this phenomenon. When you see something awkward on TV, the first time you watch it, you're able to go through that moment and just be like, oh, this is awkward. Yeah. But when you know it's coming up, like you're like, oh my God, like you want to change the channel, you want to turn the volume down because I'm feeling embarrassed for how bad someone's embarrassing themselves on screen. You know what I mean? And so like, fuck, that first season is cringy, but it is so funny. And I would say probably like 3 or 4 episodes in, they know exactly what they're trying to do and they nail it. So yeah, please get on it, man. I mean, that's March 31st as well. So you're running out of time.
So it's cringy because it's bad, or it's cringy because what the characters are doing those earlier episodes?
Oh, it's just really awkward. Yeah, okay. Like in the way that the early seasons of The Office, like they would let you die in awkward silences where people are just like looking at each other and you're like, oh my God, please someone say something. You know what I mean? Season 1 of Veep very much did that too. And it's not like they don't continue to do the cringe shit in later seasons. It's just that you're now accustomed to it. You know what I mean? Like you can deal with that speed of bullshit. So, I mean, dude, I really can't speak highly enough about it. I think it's one of the, best comedies ever made. I'm being a little bold there, but it really is funny. And think about this, man. She broke the Seinfeld curse. I don't know if you know the Seinfeld curse, but
no,
like
what is
everyone.
It?
Oh yeah. So what happens was every single person who was on Seinfeld, not named Jerry Seinfeld, actually kind of including Seinfeld. I saw B-Movie. It fucking sucked. But everyone who tried to do a show on their own, it fails. The Kramer Show, Jason Alexander's had like 3 attempts at doing a sitcom and they never work. She did like the the New Adventures of Old Christine, which was a CBS show, whatever. And now she's doing this. But this one was like such a critical thing. Like I said, I think she's won 4 Emmys for it. Best Actress. She is that good, man. And so I can't recommend it enough. I'm really excited that you're going to like watch it for the first time coming up.
For sure. And listen,
season.
This is why I'm going to be excited to watch it because it fits the stereotypes of the women I love, right?
Right.
The Cougars.
Yeah, look at that.
I mean, look at her. Fuck. She's kind of hot, man. Like, holy shit, man. Why wasn't I on this train earlier? I mean, Fuck. I mean, listen, man, she looks pretty good. I know I'm not the only one who agrees, but yeah. So I will definitely get on that, Christian. So that is it for the topics that we have here today. And Toasties, I've been neglecting you guys. How are all you guys still doing? You guys are still there. Thank you so much for joining us here on What's in the Box. And let's go ahead and look at some emails, and then we'll wrap things up. So let's go all the way down to Michael that says, Roast and Toast. To DJ Miles, sending some support for you after hearing the... Or what's that? Okay, sorry. After hearing the podcast, I got what you were going for with the Felix joke and thought you should not have let Corey and Martin run all over you for it. Thanks and stay, I guess trying to say toasty, Michael. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. You know, I said it on the show, Christian. I'm like, listen, first month YouTube comments, I think nothing can faze me after first month YouTube comments. Like, Corey and Martin, they're fucking PG. Like, they're fucking Teletubbies PG insults with me after first month YouTube comments. So, you know, to something like that, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Poke fun at me. I think it's funny. Dude, we're now in this job where if you can't laugh at yourself, you're in the wrong fucking business, dude. Right. You know, plain and simple. So let's go ahead and now jump into the second email. It says, Hollow Man. Says, hey guys, good job on the show so far. It's been improving every episode. Anyway, I want to recommend a show you may enjoy. Iron-Blooded Orphans is an action-packed, heartfelt series about the struggle of kids and young adults forced into war and slave labor by corrupt organizations on Mars. Yes, Mars. After seeing a few too many of their friends die, they decide if they are going to fight for something, it might as well be for something they want to die for instead of being forced to, thus plan to overthrow their oppressors with an ancient weapon called Gundam. Making their own private business on Mars, it's the only place to find themselves in a much more difficult position before they have to make their life or death decisions in increasingly shorter amounts of time. The series is full of twists and turns with fantastic characters that I'm thinking about years after I finished it. Iron-Blooded Orphans can be found legally on Crunchyroll or on YouTube if you're feeling the sailing. Seven Seas, highly recommended. Christian, I apologize because I didn't even realize till about halfway through that email he was talking about an anime. So I'm like, wow, this sounds really appealing to me.
No, dude, this one has rise to the top. I've actually heard really good things about it because, I don't know this because I don't watch anime, but I've heard that the beginning episodes of a lot of animes are just so exposition heavy. Like they have to tell you, there's characters looking at you being like, and this means this, which is, I hate that shit. But I've heard this one is not like that. Like they don't hold your hand. They just throw you in the world and they're supposed to do it. I'm not against anime on principle. I mean, if it's really good, I'll watch it. Yeah, but this actually sounds pretty interesting. There's only 50 episodes I'm seeing here. So maybe we should check it out, man. Yeah. Might be worth talking about.
All right, and let's go to the last email from Ryan Walterson, of course, who always hits us up, and he's like, thoughts on Neil Gaiman developing a reboot of the 80s Jim Henson fantasy series, The Storyteller? I don't know anything about this, Christian. Do you have any things you can chime on this? The Storyteller? I didn't know what this is.
Well, number one, Neil Gaiman's my boy. We talked about this. American Gods is his thing, but also he did Coraline.
That's right.
He's done a bunch of other stuff. So I'm a big fan of his. So I'm really excited. Also, Jim Henson. If it's Ryan, you know it's going to be cartoons or it's going to be puppets, which is my favorite thing in the world. I just have to start thinking in puppets. It's cool. I mean, I don't remember Storyteller all the way because I think I saw the Greek version. So what they did is they would tell and again, if I'm wrong, yell at me, Ryan, but they would tell these stories of the Middle Ages and stuff like that. But then they did a Greek version of it where it was Greek myths, and they had Michael Gambon, who ended up playing Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool. It's weird. It's going to be a creepy Jim Henson creature feature. You've seen Dark Crystal or Labyrinth. The puppets are very kind of creepy, but also really cool looking. So I'm not going to be mad about more Neil Gaiman in the world or more Jim Henson in the world. It's a good combination. Yeah. And right now you're going to hear more and more because they're doing Fraggle Rock right now. They're doing a Dark Crystal prequel on Netflix. So you're going to hear a lot of Henson stuff coming up in the next few weeks, and this is obviously just some additional Henson.
Cool. I don't know why the hell that shit reminds me of what's that story about the fucking dragon dog? There's this white big dragon dog. What the hell is that shit called?
Oh, the Never-Ending Story?
Oh,
What?
yeah.
With Falcor? No.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm looking at this shit. I'm like, am I getting these vibes right here? Where's that big old white dragon dog? Whatever the fuck. Anyway, Ryan, another email I can never answer for you, but you know what? One day I'll answer something for you. So listen, guys, that was it. That was what's in the box this week. Christian, thank you so much for joining me here today. I had a lot of fun with you. And of course, people, you can always go to doubletoasted.com, the official merchandise of doubletoasted.com. Again, the February t-shirt of the month is the Kung Fu TJ t-shirt. So go ahead and pick that up. Of course, where are you guys? The chat, you guys are right here. Thank you for joining us. And where is my little beautiful art that John Torres made himself? Listen, you guys can find me on social media and email me at what'sintheboxdt@gmail.com and find me on Instagram at DJ Miles Music. And Christian, where can they go ahead and find you?
You see it there, Christian.monster on Instagram, Christian Leon Torres on Facebook. And you can find me if you want more Christian in between what's in the box. I got a podcast called Where's My Burrito? It's really good. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and on our website, A Little Fire Burning. So come find us.
And aren't you doing some piano shit, man? Go ahead and tell the people how talented you are.
Yeah.
Go
All
ahead.
right, listen, really quickly. I decided to do this creative project where I'm just going to start doing theme songs from different TV shows. And I got a bunch of suggestions.
Do Westworld.
I'll do Westworld. Okay. It's not that hard. I'm going to tell you. So yeah, Westworld will be on there. I know Marcus asked for 15 different things.
Do Game of Thrones.
Zone. I'll do whatever you want, motherfuckers. Just tell me what you want to do, and I'll do it. And I'll be putting it on Children of the Toast.
So hey, do that Goosebumps. I like that show.
I'm going to kick your ass, I swear to God.
Hey, show me your tits.
You want to see my tits? It's not a good sight. Yeah.
All right, guys, that is what's in the box. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let me go ahead and find this little outro. We will be back next week. Take care, guys.